Rev up your engines! Now, people say some things, good and bad, but a lot of bad about the F-150 10-speed automatic transmissions. Well, here's a 2019 that Ford gave the guy $3,000 cash back, and still he got to keep the warranty on the transmission. How did that happen? Why did that happen? Now, F-150s are beautiful looking trucks. They've been around for a really long time. This guy bought it brand new. This is a four-wheel drive version. Got the shorter bed on it. I mean, it's a beautiful truck. The only thing he's got against this truck is the transmission was kind of slippy. And it's that new fancy 10-speed transmission that has 3 overdrive gears. I had a guy over here the other day that bought a used F-150 with the same engine, but it had the 6-speed instead of the 10-speed. He got 17 miles a gallon driving from Indianapolis to here. This one can get upwards of 24 if you drive the speed limit because it's got those 3 overdrive gears. But there's also a problem related to those transmissions. Between gears 3 and 5, it would often slip on him. He took it in numerous times. They tried various things. And then eventually they changed some solenoids. Strangely enough, the guy at the dealer said, well, you know, Ford's having problems with these. You might look into this class action suit about the 10-speed transmissions. So he joined the class action suit. They settled. He used a lawyer. And the settlement was like $4,300. And he ended up pocketing 3. The lawyer got the rest. But they also kept the warranty on his transmission. Now, the weird thing about these class action lawsuits are like everything else in our society these days, there's a lot of baloney involved. Of course, Ford admitted no guilt. He wasn't the only guy that won a $4,250 judgment. There were other people too, obviously. So they got away with paying the people a certain amount of money each and keeping the warranty intact. But he said the warranty's still the same. It's 55,000 miles. They didn't add anything onto it, which is actually what they should have done. Maybe they will in the future. Who knows? They can continue to have different suits for things. Giving somebody that kind of money back, to me, they're admitting something, you know. I'm not going to hand somebody $4,250 for nothing and say, here, you know, take $4,250. What the heck, you know? And there's thousands of people that you're paying off, too. So, you know, they admitted that there's kind of a problem with these transmissions. Now, he says it works better than before. It's not perfect, but if he shifts it himself here, it doesn't have the problems. If he puts it in sport mode, he doesn't have a problem. Oh, I'm not going to take off with you. That's a scary guard dog there. He's whimpering away. If he has it in the normal drive mode like we have it here, then he says 3 to 5, sometimes it still gets a little bit wonky. When he puts it on the other ones, especially if he puts it on sport, then it doesn't have that problem at all. He says he's had no problem with the 4-wheel drive system, shifting it manually. It's just when it's in the normal mode. Now, I see this all the time in these 10-speed transmissions. It's just pretty much typical. And the dog agrees. So let's start it up, listen to the engine. Smooth running engine. Now, it's got all kinds of fans because these things have all kinds of cooling systems under here. They don't have any overheating problems. And as you can see under the hood here, hiding under there is the 5-liter engine and all that plastic nonsense. But aside from that 10-speed automatic transmission with 3 overdrives, it's a conventional engine. It's got regular fuel injectors on it. It doesn't have turbochargers. These things can last forever. If you want dependability, low maintenance, and cheaper repair, you're better off with a conventional engine with conventional fuel injectors, not having GDI, not having turbochargers. The only thing non-conventional about this was a 10-speed transmission, which did have some problems. So let's take it for a spin and see how it does. Got a nice high view because it is a 4x4. I mean, the only thing is those transmissions, so we're going to give it a little road test. Now the truck is in its homeland, farm fields. We're going for our little drag strip to see if we can get the transmission to act up a little wonky. Now, granted, he admitted before, it even went wonky between 6th and 8th gear. And he said he doesn't do that at all anymore. It's more between 3rd and 5th gear that he feels a little. Only when it's in normal mode, not when it's in sport or eco. So we'll take it out here. Now we can get going. We're going to see if it gets a little bit wonky or not. Now go. I can feel herky-jerky there. Yeah. I can feel a little bit of herky. I felt it again, too. Now I realize it only does it between those gears. And like I said, if you put it in sport mode, it stops, eco mode. And of course, if he shifts it manually with the buttons over here, it stops doing it then, too. So it's more a little bit of an annoyance. Now before, yeah, 6th to 8th gear it did it, but it doesn't do that anymore. So they did figure out how to get rid of a lot of the problems. And well, they gave him 4250 and he got 3. The lawyer got the rest. That's why I tell people, if you get a choice, he bought this new, but if you get a choice, you're buying a used one, get the 6-speed transmission. You're gonna get a little worse gas mileage, but I've seen those things go 200, 300, 400,000 miles. These 10-speed ones, they get wonky because they have to decide power versus gas mileage. They're set up for both. They also have adaptive learning, so they learn how you drive, and then they try to predict how you're gonna do so it's smoother. So there's a lot of crazy computer involved in it that isn't involved in a simpler transmission. Now we're gonna go fast. We're gonna see how fast this thing will go. You can hear that engine. And you notice when we're going super fast, guess what? It isn't missing the shifts. They are extremely crisp, very crisp shifts. They had a sports mode. They don't care about gas mileage then. Normal mode, they want to get the best gas mileage, so you often get wonky shifting. You don't want wonky shifting? Put it in sports mode. You know, then when you're on the highway, doesn't matter, it's still going the same RPM once you get to a certain speed, or you could get where you're going fast and then put it in normal mode or even eco mode. You can see, it's not that there's a physical problem, it's more software and intuitiveness of the computer deciding how you drive. Sport mode throws that all out the window. It just goes for pure speed. So now you know the truth about this F-150. Yeah, the transmission, it still has a little bit of glitches to him, but he got $3,000 back and he still has his warranty. Otherwise, he's happy with it. It was his dream truck. He retired from the Army and decided he was going to get his dream truck. And he did, and aside from the little glitchy bit of the transmission, it's never left him stranded. It still has a little bit of a glitch unless he leaves it in sports mode, and then it has no glitches at all. So overall, he's happy about it. So now, you know the truth about this F-150. The 10-speed automatic transmission it has with 3 overdrives, so you can make a wise choice yourself, and maybe you already own one, and the transmission's a little glitchy. Hey, you might get involved in some of these class action suits and get some of your money back. Or, if you're happy with the truck but the glitching is driving you crazy, now you know. Put it in sport mode, and the glitching will go away. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Nifty Sense says, I got an LS V8. Whenever it rains, it misfires. It also makes a crackling sound in the middle of the engine, right behind the firewall. We hear that crackly sound, probably got wiring connector problems. Wherever those wires are, there's always connectors. Disconnect the connectors. Look at them. If they're green, they're corroded and they're shorting out. Now, before you do anything, disconnect the battery so there's no power running. You unplug them, you see they're all green, get spray electrical cleaner. It's the only thing you want to use. And you want to clean it all, spray it and soak it a little. And then get a toothbrush. And you can brush the green off. Keep spraying the electrical cleaner, snap them back together. And if it stops, that was a very simple fix. You got something when it gets wet, it's interfering with the electrical. And generally, you're saying the radio, because the radio doesn't use much power. The lower power ones are going to be affected more by rain. A big old 12 volt, 20 amp power like starter or your car or something, a little water ain't going to hurt that. It's got tons of power. But the radio only uses a tiny amount of power. So any little corrosion is going to do that. And when it gets wet, and of course also look for chafed wires. Sometimes they make the cars and the wiring gets rubbed and then you see the insulation's worn off. Then you're going to have to rewire that part where the insulation's broke. Grams01 says, I got 2013 Lexus. Smoke is coming from the right exhaust only. It's only got 60,000 miles. In about 2 hours, smoke comes out of the right side but not the left. The dealer says they want $600 to inspect it. What should I do? Probably live with it. What's happening to your car is the valve seals are probably warm. When your valve seals are warm, when an engine warms up and sits, oil in the head will leak over the valves, the intake valves. Then when you start it, you get a puff of white smoke. And then it goes away when you drive. To replace the valve seals, you got to rebuild the engine. It costs a fortune. Oil is cheap. On the other hand, which would be horrible news. You could get your head gasket is starting to blow on the right side of the engine. In that case, watch my video, how to tell if your head gasket is blown, Scott. Do that test. If the blue liquid turns yellow, it means your head gasket is starting to blow. That costs a fortune on a V6 Lexus engine to take it apart and rebuild it. To actually rebuild one of those engines, do a head gasket and that stuff, it's going to cost you anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000. And most guys don't want to spend that. You're better off getting money. If you can get money for a car and it runs good enough, since it only does it after it sits around start. If it isn't, it's the valve seals. Just live with it. Not really going to hurt anything. Would burn a little bit of oil, but you probably wouldn't even notice all that much. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.